a lady came up on a Sunday, a nice day like this, in November, nicer than September, and she had a little tiny chick, a little white leghorn chick, and she said, we found it on the side of the road. It was like, you know, it was a leftover chick. Nobody, you know, we couldn't figure it out, but she said there's nobody she knew of chickens, there's nobody in the area where she found it that had chickens. It was just a little tiny white chicken walking down the road. So she got it, brought it here. And I'm thinking, my gosh, I just got them out of the house, I got them into the cage over there, and now I've got one chick. One chick with 2-month-old chicks. Oh, that doesn't work. That's like putting somebody in the first grade with a bunch of teenagers in school, you know. So she'd be pecked on and probably killed eventually, because it would be so many, 65, 75 against one. So I went to Callahan's the next day, which was Monday, and bought 3 more. So then she was the biggest one by several days, and they were small, and actually there's a photograph of them, very tiny, in the Edible Austin. That's their little photo. She became, instead of the leftover chick, she became boss chick. And she told them what to do, and they all looked up to her, and they followed her everywhere, much to her horror, irritation. And they stayed in the house for 2 months until the other chicks graduated to the hen house, and then they got to move into the big cage. So that's where I am now. My chicks, the chicks in here are 6 months old now, and they are starting to lay pretty well. And then the matrons that were on the other side, I had the hen house duplex. I had the pullets on one side and the matrons on the other side. And plus I had a few hens that had special problems that were in with the chicks. One of them was my favorite hen, Tootie J. Tootums, who's a black sex link, and she would be out, but she grew tired of the wind earlier, so she went back in. She took it on herself to be their mother, and she showed them how to do all the stuff in the hen house for 65, 70 chicks. It was a big deal. And she wouldn't go out of the hen house ever again while she was tending those chicks. And she's one that would be out every single day. She's 7 years old, and she was always out, but suddenly she had to be devoted to the chicks. And then her sister, twin sister, has a handicap. She has, instead of 2 good legs, she has one that goes out like that, like an oar. So she can't walk, or she has to hop everywhere, and so her name is Hoppy J. Tootum. And so Hoppy J was in there because the rooster was being mean to Hoppy J, so she had to go in there. And then there was the white hen with that had the frontal lobotomy. Rusty got a hold of her. She was one that would used to fly out all the time. And Rusty's kind of has leanings toward the Taliban, I think. He didn't like that. He didn't like a hen getting out, being out on her own, being a career girl, not laying eggs, just sailing around, and everybody's jealous of her being out. So one day he caught her and ripped the top of her head off. And blood everywhere. It was horrific. So so she got the purchase, and I beat him off, and then ran to HEB, got some antibiotic cream, came back in the night. Larry had to hold her, because, you know, they don't like to be picked up, and I slathered her with antibiotic cream and put the head back down like that. And she made it, but she had post-traumatic stress syndrome. So she couldn't be with Rusty because he would tear her up. And there was a couple times after that he accidentally got in with her and did try to tear her up again. He hates her. So now, even now, she will usually sit on the perch if he's anywhere near. She don't want anything to do with him. So these are just some of the developing things that this will happen, if it hasn't already happened with y'all and all your chickens. There'll be all these dramatic stories that you'll be up here next year telling about. But that is one of the exciting things about chickens. It is really an incredible adventure. You learn so much from chickens. You learn especially that chickens are very much like humans. It's a civilization, and like ours. And with all the good things about it and all the bad things, my chickens live their entire life here. They're never killed. Well, once. Once. We had to put Buffy down. Buffy was truly horrible. That was a past rooster. But generally, they live their whole lives here. I've got, my oldest hen is 15. This next month she'll be 15 years old. That's Aunt Droptail. And I've got a whole bunch that are in the 12-year-old, 10 to 12-year-old bracket, and then some that are 8 to 10. And then there's a few ones that are not chicks, that are like 2 or 3 years old. And then the rest is the young ones. So if you get chickens, or if you have chickens, be prepared. It's kind of like a parrot, an elephant or something. You may go before they. In fact, I was worried about getting all these chicks because I'm 65. I thought, my God, 15, that'll be 80. Well, what am I going to do? How am I going to slug out there in all the cold and the rain and the wet and slug through poop and everything, that quagmire, that quicksand in there to feed them? Right now, I'm having to hold on to the fences as I get in there, and you got chicks running all around, 80 years old in that. Well, probably that'll be the way it is, because they're going to live that long. Unless something horrible happens. We'll get into the horribles soon. So anyway, the breeds that I recommend if you want eggs, if you just want eggs, the white leghorn, the production red, those are the two best that you can easily get. There's another hen that Darcy Barger got from Vital Farms called a Bhutan, I think, B-U-T-A-N or something like that. What are they called? No, it's something else. But anyway, ask Darcy or ask Vital Farms. They'll know. But they lay at 4 or 5 months. I've never had a hen lay that early. So, you might investigate that. But all those, that breed came from Arkansas. So I don't know how easy it is to get. Now, Vital says they're out of any kind of hens for sale. But they say it'll be next year because they'll be getting more in. When you have a commercial flock, the population kind of changes. Goes in, goes out. And so, but that would be a source. And but the white leghorn and the production red are two of the best breeds. Now, then you get into another class, the red sex links and the golden sex links and all that. They are excellent layers also, and I've got a lot of those. And then you've got your fun ones like the Wells Summers that lay dark brown eggs, but not as many. And then you got the Americanas, and that's another breed that when she gets older will develop spurs. Aunt Droptail has spurs, but that's only male characteristics they seem to have, but they like those spurs. And but they're moderate layers, the Americanas. The green eggs, the blue eggs, the olive green, the pale blue, the turquoise, all of that. When I got my chicks, I ordered 25 of each of those, 25 production reds, 25 white leghorns, and 25 Americanas. And I thought I had 14 roosters after a while because some of those Americanas never produced a tail, no tail at all. And so all these, Kim Alexander, who does chickens and raises chickens for meat and as well as eggs, he came and says, well, I think they're roosters. They look like roosters to me. Well, that was really heartwarming, 14. So then Jeremiah Cunningham, who does the Coyote Creek feed, the certified organic feed that Buck Moore and Callahan sell, he came over and said, well, I think the hatcheries are kind of going back to that Chilean bird, the Rumpus Araucana. Not Americana, but Araucana. I said, Rumpus. Oh, well, that makes sense. They had no rump. Well, they did have a rump. They just didn't have any rump feathers, no tail. So I think that's what I've got. And so I did not do anything with them. But, with this city law wanting to ban roosters, I figured I was going to have to haul all of them down to City Hall and turn them in. Here they are. Just let them out. Y'all deal with them. It's against the law. I want nothing to do with them. I don't want to be an accomplice anymore. So that's, something. So, but anyway, they turned out to be hens. Now, I did wind up with 3 roosters. And if anybody wants 3 handsome roosters, or 1 even, I have them. They're brothers. Their names are Hank, Harry, and Henry. And they're production reds, and they're getting really beautiful. They fight over the hens, and they have not fought with Rusty yet, but he's sizing them up. So anyway, those are the best chickens breeds to get. Any of the others you get for fun. The Cochins and the Banties and all of that. I mean, they all lay eggs. So they're all just whatever you want. Beautiful ones or production ones, whatever. They're all beautiful to me. So anyway, anybody have a question about breeds or anything like? Yes, ma'am. That's a very good question. Yeah, I'll get into that. What was your...
Well,
Barred Rock is kind of descended from that Dominic strain, and they're pretty good layers. I love a Barred Rock. They're real talkative, and they're moderate layers. But when do the chickens stop laying? You know, they go through the molt at 2.5 years, roughly. And typically that's on a cold fall day, and they lose all their feathers. Not all of them, but a great amount of them. And sometimes